Hello, Confident Eaters. We're here with another guest today. Today we have on Julie Danielson, and she is a divorce and relationship coach who helps women to heal from their past, speak and live their truth, and gain the confidence and self-trust to create a life they love after divorce. She is the creator of the Get Over Your Divorce Collective, an impactful program that changes lives, and is also the host of the highly rated Get Over Divorce podcast, where I will also be guesting on later at some point. So it's so fun that we both get to be on each other's shows today. And I'm really excited for Julie to talk to us through how to get through big life changes. So whether you are going through a divorce, have just gotten divorced, or going through a breakup, or really just experiencing any form of loss, grief, or big life change, today's episode is going to help you with that. So I think you are going to find value in this no matter where you are in life today. So Julie, why don't you say hi, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about your story, about how you got here today.
I love it. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. I got divorced once. This was many, many years ago, and it was the hardest thing I ever went through. I was in therapy for years leading up to it, and it wasn't really the therapy that helped me through it. It was when I got a life coach. Because I got a life coach, I made so many changes in my life and made the decision to get the divorce. Things changed so quickly for me after signing on with that life coach. Like in 3 months, I got promoted at work. I made the decision to get a divorce. I lost 15 pounds. Like things started to connect the dots for me in such a good way. Like my life was rapidly moving forward powerfully in the way that I didn't get that from therapy. Then is when I decided one day I was going to become a life coach. It happened a lot sooner than I thought it would, but that's basically my story. And I don't really talk about my ex or the divorce itself because like that's what coaching is about. It's about moving forward powerfully and not really looking back. I did get a divorce and I did find love again. I've now been remarried for 15 years to an amazing man who loves and appreciates and adores me every day. So I feel like I won the lottery there. But what I want to talk to you about today is like the 5 big belief shifts that I feel like when you're going through a big struggle that needs to be made. And the first one that I love talking about is time does not heal all wounds. Like we hear this all the time, and it's just such a myth when it comes to emotional wounds because time is going to heal a flesh wound. It's going to heal a broken bone, but it's not going to heal your heart. And we need to be intentional about our healing. Otherwise, we could just be languishing, waiting for time to heal us, right? I think a lot of women in this place, when they're swimming in the river of misery, they're looking to feel better. And that's where emotional eating comes in. And there's other numbing mechanisms that come in here for a lot of women. It could be over drinking. It could be over shopping. It could be swiping right on the wrong guys on Tinder and like numbing yourself with other people or just filling every minute of your time. Food is just one of the ways that we numb ourselves, right? But true healing really, really starts when women stop asking themselves, what's wrong with me? And they start asking themselves, what do I need?
I love that. I think a lot of times when we go into the healing work, we're just like, I feel so broken. So there must be something broken with me. And I need to find all of those things to like fix about myself instead of thinking about what would feel really supportive to me right now. I think that goes along with this idea of that we don't just need to like wait for time to fix it. And I find that time often, whether it's a breakup or around food, like sometimes it can make things worse too, because then we just spiral deeper into our thoughts. I remember I had this one boyfriend, he ghosted me. That was how he broke up with me. And it was like the worst thing ever. I felt so hurt. I had so many negative thoughts about it. And I didn't have a coach at that time. This was, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. So I'd been a coach. I've been in the coaching world. And I didn't have a coach at first. And I remember like I was really sad and hurt at first. But actually, I feel like the worst of my pain was a couple months after that because I kept replaying that story of like, he never actually loved me. He never cared about me. All of these thoughts I started to tell myself like really had an impact on my self-worth. But I did start working with a coach who we did like life coaching stuff with for a time period. And one of the things I wanted to work on with her was some of my thoughts of these, because even as a coach myself, Like, I was just, like, hoping to solve it on my own and letting it take time, and it just made everything worse until I made the decision to have someone help me look at my thoughts from the outside and really give me that perspective on it.
Absolutely. Here's the thing with coaching around this. It's so funny because you and I, we really do teach all of the same things under like a different specialty. Mine is divorce, yours is eating, but they are so entwined, so
Mhm.
entwined. Like when I talk about a lot of the things I talk about today, like you're going to completely relate this to how that affect the emotional eating. So belief shift number 2 is you're not broken, but your relationship with yourself is. And
Mm,
that is where the real divorce healing rubber meets the road is like, we look at ourselves like, I failed at marriage. Why wasn't I good enough for him? Like, what does she have that I don't have? We create these stories, right? Like you were saying, you were going through all of this during your breakup because you didn't have someone telling you what went wrong. He just ghosted you. So your
mhm,
brain's going to make up shit, right?
mhm,
It's going to make up stories and it's going to fill in the blanks for what you don't know is true. But the reality is, you don't need closure from outside of you. You don't need closure from him. And I tell this to all of my women. The real closure comes from your self acceptance. Like, this man is not who I thought he was. This man did not have the integrity to tell me what was going on and what he was feeling. This man does not live up to the fantasy that I made up in my head about who he is, because clearly he's not that. And when you start looking at reality and not the fantasy of what you thought it was, that's when you can really start your healing. But I feel like it's that relationship with yourself that we need to like turn the focus on, right?
mhm,
And build that self trust, build that self respect and that self love. And we keep looking for all of that outside of ourselves. But it
mhm,
really comes from saying no to a date because you just don't want to go out with somebody for a second time. That
mhm.
little act of your self respect and standing up for your own wants, needs, and desires is going to give you a little bit more self confidence. Every time you practice using your voice, you build that self confidence.
I think with that one too, we often get so obsessed with the other person of like, what are they doing in their life? What are they thinking about? How can I make them like me? Or even just around like grief or loss in general, we're reflecting on like so much past with that person or that pet. I know we mentioned that can be just as hard as losing a person too. And we're
Yeah.
reflecting so much around the other thing or person that we're feeling this emotion for. And I think that's when we lose sight of our relationship with ourselves and we stop taking care of our life and our needs. And then when we're
Mhm.
so focused on what is this person doing and what's happening with them, it's like, well, what's happening with us? No one's taking charge of that. No one's taking care of us. And so then we're creating
Yeah.
a really negative experience in our own life. Again, whether that comes out through food, or drinking, other things, it's like we're not being there for ourselves in that.
Exactly. Especially for these women who have been married for many, many years or in a relationship for a long time. You took care of everybody around you so much. Like you took care of the kids, you raised the kids, like in my situation, and you took care of this husband, and you probably worked full time during all of that. And you were making sure that everybody else was getting their needs met. Nobody's making sure you're getting your needs met.
Mhm.
Right? So a lot of women are just exhausted and done and tired. And they're the women asking for the divorce a lot of times because of that. I think we're seeing such a cultural shift in divorce these days where more women are asking for it because they can support themselves. Whereas back in the day, like our grandparents, women had to stay in a marriage because they had no way out. They had no self sufficiency. They had no way of supporting themselves. It's so changed. But what you were talking about is like, wanting to get back at him and make him regret the thing. I have this one thing I talk about is like that belief that the revenge body is going to make you feel better. And that's just not true. I think wanting to fix yourself from the outside in or from the outside, just on the outside, is not going to be the healing work that you need. Looking hot is not going to make you feel better.
I think that's a hot take. Tell us more about that.
Real confidence doesn't come because you look hot. Real confidence is on the inside that says, I can handle shit. That's where real confidence comes from. It is having the belief in yourself that you can trust yourself and have your own back. So kind of the example I gave earlier, if you go on a date with somebody and let's say you don't want to go on a second date, self-trust is being able to clarify that to somebody and say, hey, I had a great time, but I just don't think we're a good fit. Instead of people pleasing this person because he's such a nice guy and your best friend likes him and you should date him. No, that's other people telling you what you should do. Self-trust is having that belief in yourself that you're making the right decision for yourself based on your wants, needs, and desires. It has nothing to do with looking hot. It's about having your own back.
Right. I think with that, it's also checking in on where it's coming from you, because I think a lot of times it's good to want to take care of ourselves and be healthy. And sometimes that can be coming from a really good place where we are finding our self-worth again and our value again and coming back to taking care of ourselves. But I think when it's coming from this place of wanting to prove to someone something, then that's when it's like, again, we're doing it for them and their life and what we imagine that they're going to think about us versus like how we really want to think about us. Then it doesn't work long term too. Like I've done this before. Like I am no stranger to this too, where I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to be so hot that they can't help but like want me back. They'll see a picture of me on Instagram and they're just going to think I'm so drop dead gorgeous from dropping those 5 pounds that will change and want me again. When really it was just creating a really negative experience for me and a lot of pressure in my own life, my eating habits in a way that I didn't want to. So if someone is in this place where they just feel like I'm just thinking about the other person all the time, like I feel like I can't do anything for myself because I'm just like wanting to get them back or I just want to impress them. How can they come back to finding like what they want and what they want to do for themselves?
I love that you said that because I always say, if you don't know what you want, the universe is going to give you the leftovers. Like our future depends on knowing what you want. It is so important that you figure out what you want, even if that means you're sitting down with a journal and you're just coming up with the most crazy dreams that maybe you had as a child or things that you thought of that you saw somebody else had. Write down these dreams and desires that you have because we need this North Star. We need this something to look forward to, something to get excited about in our future, something to reach for and strive for. If you don't have any of that, you are going to stay the same and in the same place. And humans don't like being stagnant. We like forward motion. So even if your goal is to make 2 new friends and you go for a hiking meetup, like that is moving forward and that's giving you something to look forward to over the weekend. And, making new friends is how you're getting out of your comfort zone and expanding yourself. Otherwise, we're going to sit at home, watch Netflix, hang out with our 2 best friends, Ben and Jerry, and make ourselves actually miserable because then we will wake up the next day and regret it, right? Or drink a bottle of wine, which was my numbing mechanism of choice back in the day.
Knowing what you want can also get you out of that hopeless state that I think is really easy to get into when we're in these like big life transitions. We just feel like nothing matters. We don't really know like where am I going next in my life? And maybe your whole vision of life was now just crushed and torn away from you, taken apart. And I think I love that idea of just sitting down with a journal and saying like, what are my desires? What sounds fun to me? Now that anything is possible for my life and maybe I don't have to consider this other person, what else might come up for me that I could dream of? And just even allowing yourself that time and space to dream is so important. Like we don't do that. We don't question that something else could be possible for us. But I think when we do that, then it's like, oh, okay, I have something that like might excite me a little bit more, like light me up a little bit, something that is possible and doable. Or if it feels like this really lofty goal and dream, like starting with something that does feel possible and doable to get us those little baby steps forward.
I love that. And that is also where coaching comes in because a lot of times I ask women and they're just like in the pit of misery. I ask them, what do you want? And they say, I don't know. So sometimes it does take a coach to help you get aligned with what it is that you actually want and help pull those dreams and desires out of you. Because when you're in that pit of misery, sometimes it's really hard to get into that place of possibility and you need a little help. You need a little push.
Yeah.
You need someone to give you the stick to pull you out of that pit, right?
Mhm.
amazing. But also another belief shift I have is that numbing your feelings, whether you're overeating, over drinking, over Netflixing, these are just ways that we prolong our grief. This is how we avoid. This is how we avoid really looking at what happened, what went down in the past, and what can I do going forward. I don't want you to sit and look at the past and sift through the ashes of your divorce and feel horrible about it. I really want you to look at it from the frame of what was my part? What can I take responsibility for? And how can I do better going forward? A lot of women still want love, and maybe they didn't have it in a healthy way the first time around or the second time around or however many times they've been broken up or divorced. They still have that dream of a healthy relationship. And I'm all about that. Like, I believe in love. I almost said I got lucky my second time, but heck no, it was not luck. It was me raising the bar so damn high because I loved my peace and alone time so much, which that took effort to get to, that no man was going to get in the way of what I've created for myself. That amazing peace, me loving my life, me loving my alone time, that it was going to take an incredible man that was going to supplement what I've already built for myself. Right. And I found that, and it took work. It took really raising the bar and building the belief in who I was, that I deserved a man like that. And I think a lot of women, they need to do that level of work in order to break the habits of their bad relationships in the past. And I had a lot of bad habits in my past relationship that I needed to stop doing in order to be a healthier person in my new relationship.
Okay, so I want to read that one more time because I think it was so good. Numbing your feelings is just prolonging your grief. We do all these things because we think that they'll help us feel better, but it doesn't actually do anything. Like, I'm thinking about, like, let's say this is like not scientifically accurate at all, but let's say we have like X units of grief to process, right? We have that much time to process all of those units of grief. Anything like overeating and binge eating is just making it so we still have to process those 10 units of grief, but now we've just put it down till tomorrow and to the next day and to the next day, and it still is going to have to come up at some point. Like that beach ball example, right? The more we push it down, the more it's going to come up. And so it will still come up. And so getting it done with today, allowing yourself to do that. And I know people are here on this podcast, they might have heard me talking about allowing emotions. But can you tell me in your own words, like, what do you think allowing emotions is, and how do people do that? How do they feel the grief?
Yeah, they need to sit with it and allow them to feel the feelings and maybe even identify with those feelings. I don't want somebody to sit in the grief and then beat themselves up for sitting in the grief and then beat themselves up for feeling bad for themselves. I think we actually have to go through feeling the grief, have a good couple of cries. There are times where you're at work and the feelings come up, something might have triggered it, and you need to go to the bathroom and like cry in a bathroom stall. But then give yourself 5 minutes or less, clean yourself up, get back to work, and just tell yourself, okay, I'm going to get back to that when I have time. I'm going to allow myself to feel that, but I can't do it until 5:30 p.m. today. And then you need to make a date to go back and like, what was going on for me? And get to the bottom of it, identify it, right? And make sure that you're not telling yourself lies about your past. And by lies, I mean, why was I not good enough for him? What does she have that I don't have? Like, this is where, again, coaching can come in and really help. But you can also sit down with a journal and say, here are the thoughts that I'm having, and this is the feelings I'm having because of that. What's true? You need to get to the truth of it and not just the made up lies that your brain likes to tell that makes you feel terrible. So I like to help my clients redirect some of that and say, well, was he really a great husband? Was he there for you? Did he help do the dishes? Like, I go through all of the things and I get to pull out all of the things that they didn't like about their ex-husband. Those are things that they're not looking at when they are missing him. And they're not really missing him. They're just missing this emptiness of a void of having a person around, right? So we're kind of getting into what's reality versus what is the made up things going on in your head that isn't really true. Like, oh, he was so wonderful with the kids. Really? Or was it just like, that one time on vacation and you have these great photos from the photo session you took. Like, was it real or was it just these snapshots of moments that you're romanticizing? Be
Mhm.
in reality and don't make yourself the fall guy for the whole entire downfall of the marriage. If he stepped out on you, then he was not the right man for you. Period. He didn't have the integrity. He didn't have the ability to cope with real life hardships. And there's a lot of guys out there that don't have that ability. He was not just one special snowflake and you were a bad wife, so he took off to be with somebody else. That's not how it is. Sometimes you outgrow each other and sometimes you end up not being a good fit because there's not an equal give and take in a relationship, right? And relationships take effort in connection and maintenance and communication. People always say what went wrong, it was communication. I really think it's connection. Like that is what really makes for a happy, healthy relationship. Okay, my belief shift number 5 is self-trust is the key to healing success. Building that self-trust in yourself that you know what you want in a healthy relationship, you know what you want out of your life going forward, and that you're not going to settle or date down ever again, right? And you need to figure out, how did I choose this person that turned out to not be a fit for me? And what can I do in the future to prevent that from ever happening, right? What is the bar that I want to raise? What is the criteria for the next person? I had like 3 pages of criteria before I met my now husband, and I'd gone on a few dates with him. One day I like pull it out and I read through it and I'm like, oh my God, he's like far surpassed all of that criteria. I couldn't even create criteria high enough in my brain for who he was as a person because I didn't experience that. I was making stuff up and I thought I was being really fantastical, but he like exceeded all of my criteria.
That's
And
amazing.
I want that for everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
I believe it's available to you. I believe there are good men out there, but we have to really trust ourselves and become the version of ourselves that makes us proud so that we never date down again.
I love the idea of having those like clear intentions on what you want in a person. And I'm sure this isn't like a list of like 6'5", beautiful lush
It's
hair,
not.
perfect
I actually
style.
tell my ladies, you cannot put down anything physical. No physical attributes. These are only character attributes. And you'd be shocked at how you have a vision in your mind of what your guy's going to look like. And he doesn't look anything like that. But because he's such an emotional match for you, you fall in love with everything he looks like. You fall in love with his face, no matter what it is. It's so true.
I think you could use this idea around knowing what you want around food too, because I see so many of you going out there and saying, I only have a good relationship with food once this whole list of things happens. And it's like, once I'm 120 pounds, once I never ever binge again or overeat or undereat, and I'm this perfect eater. And we have that expectation for ourselves that this is what needs to happen in order for me to have like my dream relationship with food. And that's not really the case. So I love that aspect of putting down the character traits of it. And
Mhm.
so for you, whether you are trying to have this dream relationship that you want or just your dream relationship with food, I think putting down who will I be, like the character that I will be, how will I show up when I'm at my dream relationship with food? Because what that will look like is sometimes you might undereat, sometimes you might overeat. And how are you going to be the person to handle that? Just like how would your person that you want to be with forever, handle certain things versus what does their body look like?
Absolutely. I love that. And like criteria for how do you want food to make you feel? Like it's not all sugar and sweets and candy. It is like, I want to feel nourished. I want to feel fulfilled. I want to feel good about myself after having consumed it, right? Just like you want to feel good about yourself after having a date. If somebody doesn't make you feel good, then that's not your person. And if food isn't making you feel good and it's making you feel bad about yourself, then like that's something to explore deeper.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to share one thing about the grief thing of our last lesson that numbing your feelings is prolonging the
Mm.
grief too. And a little
Mhm.
example how I process this sometimes. First, I think it's amazing of what you said of really looking at the truth of it. Because I think when
Yeah.
we're telling ourselves the lies of, all the reasons that we're not good enough and that they did these horrible things and, maybe they did do horrible things, but really looking at like the factual circumstances of what happened. If we do
Yeah.
that makes the grief easier to process. So it doesn't feel so heavy. But I had a thing with a guy that ended a couple months ago. So it's a different thing. And I remember it was only like a couple weeks. And so I was sad that it ended. He ended things with me, but I felt like I shouldn't be sad. And I think that's like another thing that really stops us from feeling this grief is like the belief that like, oh, I should be better by now, or I should be over this. Like it should be taking so long. And what
Mhm.
I realized is I gave myself the day and I was like, you know what? I'm going to have the entire Sunday to just cry, do nothing, like really do whatever I need to feel it, not eating, but really like what feels good to me right now? Well, right now I want to cry. Right now I want to listen to some sad music. Right now, and now I want to go for a walk and I'm feeling a little bit better. Well, now I want to cry again. Like letting ourselves go
Mhm.
through all of those things. And what
Yeah.
happened was so interesting because in my mind, I thought this is probably going to take me weeks to get through. If I just like sit here and process my emotions, I'm not going to be able to like show up in my business tomorrow. I'm not going to be able to go work out. And what happened is I gave myself that one day. After that
Mhm.
day, I woke up Monday morning and I was back and ready to go. I was like, I feel good with it. I feel like I've learned from it and I've moved on from it. And, again, this is a much smaller thing than a full divorce, but just as an example of
Totally.
what processing that looks like. And I find that once we actually give ourselves that time, it
Mhm.
does get processed a lot faster than we imagine. Sometimes we
Mhm.
think it's gonna take weeks and months, but we just actually haven't been using the right tools and actually allowing that emotion to have it pass through and be healed from.
Absolutely. I love that. I always like to think when somebody leaves our lives, it's like the trash taking itself out, especially when it's just in the dating process. And women struggle with, oh, but I really liked him. And if it's been a really short time, it's like sometimes they're projecting good qualities on people early on that make them fall into like. And I'm not saying this is what you did, but I see it a lot with some of my ladies who've never been into dating at all, right? After all these years are stepping into dating, they're projecting all of these amazing good qualities onto a person blindly. And that's what makes them feel like a 2-week relationship is felt like a breakup because they had built somebody up so much in their mind for what they thought it was. And that's another way where I'm like, you got to really connect with reality. We have to really slow roll it. Be very mindful about dating, just like you want to be very mindful about eating, right? When you're doing something unconsciously, you could grab a box of chocolates and be done with the whole thing in a minute. Well, dating is the same way. And especially dating after a broken heart, we want to just fill that void. And we have to be really, really mindful how we go forward and be slow about it. Just like eating slow helps you eat less, right? Dating slow helps you be in reality with who this person really is. Stay curious. Just always be asking yourself questions like, how did he treat that waitress? Or did I like how he made me feel? Those kind of things. Just stay in curiosity.
Amazing. Well, Julie, this is such an important topic. And I know so many women feel so alone in this. And really, it is just a big struggle, especially when people maybe they're trying therapy, they're trying other things, they're ranting to all of their girlfriends about it, and it's not getting any better. So I'm
Yeah.
so glad that you came on today and that people now have you as a resource. So if
Thank
people
you.
are looking to find out more or get more resources, where can they do that?
Absolutely. Thanks for asking. You can check out the Get Over Divorce podcast. You can go to my website, getoverdivorce.com, and find me there. I also have an incredible Facebook group of 11,000 women called the Thriving Community Women Helping Women Get Over Divorce. And you can just message me on Facebook and I'll give you the link.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. I didn't know you had a Facebook community. I have one too, and it is so nice for people to be able to go in there and kind of connect with other people, or even just to see when someone else asks a question, like, oh, I'm not alone in this. Like, other people are working on this too with me.
I love that.
All
Yeah.
right. Well,
Thank
thanks so
you.
much for coming on today, Julie.
Thank you so much.